This week I've decided to try something new. I'm going to talk about one topic for 5 episodes, more in depth. And that topic for this week is oil. So in this first episode, we're going to take a look at the early history of oil, the foundation of the Seven Sisters, and how oil has become so crucial in modern society. Around 300 million years ago, small plants and animals that died fell to the bottom of the seafloor. Over time, these deposits became buried under more and more layers of rock. With pressure and heat, they were slowly turned into oil and gas, waiting to be discovered by humans. Fast forward to the modern age. In the beginning, there was wood. We used it for cooking, and we used it for warmth. Then there was coal. Discovered by the Chinese as far back as 3400 BC, it provided 4 times as much energy output per weight. It was easier to transport and cheaper to produce. Machines powered by coal and steam created dramatic improvements in efficiency and productivity and fueled the Industrial Revolution. Oil really came into play as a commercial fuel in the modern sense towards the late 1800s, when it was used as a replacement for whale oil in lamps. In 1858, Edwin Drake, a retired train conductor, was hired by the Seneca Oil Company of Pennsylvania to explore and drill for oil. The company was investing in the idea that rock oil could replace whale oil if they could come up with a decent method of extracting it from the ground. After much effort, investment, and innovation, Drake succeeded in drilling his first oil well at a depth of 70 feet. It produced 25 barrels of oil a day. The new drilling technique was widely adopted, and by 1872, the region was pumping out 16,000 barrels a day. The first U.S. oil baron was John D. Rockefeller, who formed Standard Oil in 1865. By 1879, Standard Oil would control 90% of the U.S. refining capacity. That company today is Exxon. In Europe around the same time, the Rothschild family was competing for Russia's oil, and it was they who created the first oil tankers. This was the beginning of Shell, as the first tanker commissioned was named the Murex after a seashell. And in 1908, in the country of Iran, the discovery of oil by the British created the Anglo-Persian Oil Company. In 1914, the British government purchased 51% of the company to ensure oil for the Royal Navy. This company became British Petroleum. This is how the original 3 oil companies came to be. Back in the United States, in 1901, the discovery of a large oil field in Texas led to the formation of the other major oil companies that we know today: Texaco, Gulf, Mobil, and Chevron. These companies are referred to as the Seven Sisters. With the invention of the combustion engine and the electric bulb, oil was no longer just for lamps. Motor vehicles, airplanes, tanks, and roads themselves now relied on oil. Some argue that countries that made the shift to oil early and had access to the resources had a decisive role in the outcome of World War I. The Allies floated to victory on a wave of oil. The victory of 1918 was simply the truth of the Allied truck over the German railway. World War I made it clear that oil and access to it was essential for a country's growth and its defense. As the United States and Russia had their own reserves, the UK worked to guarantee their supply from the Middle East. The original deal made with the Anglo-Persian Oil Company allowed only 16% of oil profits to go to Iran. So in 1933, the Shah renegotiated the deal with the promise to give laborers better pay and more chance for advancement, and to build schools, hospitals, roads, and a telephone system. These promises were not kept. Move ahead to World War II, and the British and Russians as allies invaded Iran, exiled the Shah, and put his son on the throne to guarantee the flow of oil for both countries during the war. The new Shah signed an agreement pledging full non-military logistical cooperation with the British and Soviets in exchange for full recognition of his country's independence and a promise to withdraw from Iran within 6 months of the war's conclusion. The troops left, but the oil company remained, and the profits still mostly belonged to the British. By 1951, Iran had had enough, and the newly elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh nationalized the oil company, canceling the concessions and taking control of the assets. Our long years with foreign countries have yielded no results so far. With oil revenues, we could meet our entire budget and combat poverty, disease, and backwardness among our people. Access to Iranian oil was crucial for the British, so just 2 years later, with the help of the United States and the CIA, Mossadegh was overthrown in a coup. The newly installed government quickly restored the flow of oil. It wasn't just Iran that felt cheated by large international oil companies. Over the next decade, oil-producing countries around the world began to assert control over their own resources. To signify their newfound authority, in 1960, the governments of Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iraq, and Iran founded the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries for the purpose of negotiating with integrated oil companies on matters of oil production, prices, and future concession rights. Oil had humble beginnings, but in the short span of 60 years, it became the most powerful resource on Earth, both in terms of economy and sovereignty. But except for the very beginning of oil exploration, one thing remained relatively constant: the price of a barrel of oil. So what happened to the price in the 70s? We'll talk about that in episode 2. If you enjoy this content, please click the like button and share, and consider subscribing for more videos. Thank you.